Hello everyone, and hello everyone. Welcome back. I'm happy to open this open mic session. So we had this open call for presenters to speak to the public, talk about their ideas, and we selected the best speeches that were proposed to us, and we are happy to present them to you. So I will start giving voice to Wesley Ram.
Hey,
Welcome,
good morning.
Wesley. Good morning. And you have shared with us a presentation that I will start off right now.
Pardon me. Okay, so Carmina, will you share the slides?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Chris Woodhams from Argenta, and you'll meet Wes Ram from Scythe in the Q&A section. We're two companies who have formed a consortium to deliver product qualification services to the space industry, specifically focused on small and key.
I think that this has not yet gone live, so let's redo this.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Chris Woodhams from Argenta, and you'll meet Wes Ram from Scythe in the Q&A section. We're two companies who have formed a consortium to deliver product qualification services to the space industry, specifically focused on small and CubeSat manufacturers. We aim to provide these companies with the tools and equipment that ensure their products are qualified for spaceflight. Ultimately, the aim is for us to have our own facility that businesses can utilise to outsource their qualification testing to. Our credibility to provide this service comes from Wes's 15 years experience in spaceflight hardware qualification with companies like JPL working on projects with NASA, including delivering all robotic arms currently on Mars. Between our two companies, we have over 35 years of experience developing test equipment for product qualification, and above all, we love solving engineering challenges. With our topic today, I'm going to cover how companies can utilise technology to optimise the product lifecycle to support innovation. We're going to split the presentation in two, covering the product and testing life cycles. So if we look at a traditional approach to the product development cycle, it involves different hardware platforms from inception to the final product. The selection of hardware components is driven by engineers who often select their favourite platform, whether it is suitable for industrial applications or not. The success of the product often then hinges on the strengths and weaknesses of a single individual, as other engineers may not be able to contribute. The value of the product is held in the knowledge of the employees rather than in the IP of the company. Every step of the process requires new interfaces, new software, new programming, and there is no guarantee of success at the end of the non-recurring engineering. So when we come to the final product, none of the intermediate hardware and software is usable in the final design, so there's a lot of wasted time. Now looking at a modern approach, it builds on a commercial off-the-shelf platform that has enough flexibility to handle the end requirements. Development takes place with minimal custom PCBs, instead using plug-in off-the-shelf input-output interfaces. Manufacture the final PCB then requires transferring the IP from the development board and packaging the input and outputs from the plug-in interfaces. So with a modern approach, the proof of concept software forms the basis of the prototype software, which forms the basis of the finished product software. And in turn, the proof of concept hardware forms the basis of the prototype hardware, which forms the basis of the finished product hardware. Most companies choose not to go down this route at the start of a development project, but rather go down the route of building from scratch. However, this approach has significant benefits in reducing time and cost to market for the product. With regards to testing, a traditional life cycle would typically start with testing using benchtop instruments to understand the product. This would then evolve to build in potentially a data logger to enable you to acquire data for longer periods of time. You might then want to start simulating some aspects of how the product interacts with its environment. So you develop some Python code or you develop some PLC control algorithms. Then you want to integrate a MATLAB model to represent another aspect of the product. Each advancement of the product requires new equipment and new approaches to test. If we then start to consider how we can automate some of the testing, it is very difficult with multiple components all using different technology. With no automation, you have reduced robustness and repeatability of your tests and therefore the reliability of their results. You're also reliant on the knowledge of the engineer running the tests. Should they leave the business, then that knowledge is going to be lost. When it comes to transferring from development environment to the production environment, it will be a large-scale project to translate all technology components into a single test system, and additionally work out how to incorporate the benefits of automation. With the modern life cycle, you can achieve a much more flexible and maintainable set of test equipment. To do that, you need to start with a software-based modular data acquisition platform that has a wide range of different modules, and make sure that you give yourself enough room to expand. You then develop your test executive software for the current requirements using architectures that allow for easy adaptation in the future, considering abstraction layers and configurability. As your test requirements are defined, start to build in automation of testing. Then from the start of the project, you don't rely on any specific personnel and their knowledge. As the product develops, you add modules to the system and further develop the software to implement the required functionality and any additional data logging requirements. Once the time comes to productionize your test equipment, you have everything in place in your data acquisition hardware and software to transfer it across. An additional benefit of a software-based solution is that any reporting requirements can easily be built to output the required information for qualification needs. From our experience, test equipment development always gets squeezed in towards the latter stages of the project, which makes things very challenging. The most successful projects that we've been involved in is when the test requirements are defined in parallel to the product development, and that's right from the start of the project. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll now hand you over to Wes, who's looking forward to answering your questions.
So good afternoon, everybody. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a link to a blog post that Chris wrote, which is very nice. It talks a little bit about this approach for automated testing and how it can advance your product life cycles, accelerate your product life cycles. And most people may not even think about testing to accelerate things. However, anybody who's involved in testing has often and probably always experienced that the test program gets shoved into the final remaining part of the schedule after all of the design changes and customer changes have been processed. And thus being able to perform your test reliably, repeatedly, and quickly is a key component to keep the entire development cycle to a minimum and with the highest reliability. So we've discussed a couple of issues about helping you get your products to market perhaps a little bit quicker, and I'm happy to field any questions if there are any.
I have a question, Wes, because at the initial of the presentation, it was highlighted how you have been working with space technologies. And there's always this point, space people think of Elon Musk, thinks of astronauts and the International Space Station. Why is it relevant to industry down on Earth?
So the space flight hardware industry can be characterized basically by the fact that it's highly regulatory. All of the activity that goes into a spaceflight hardware development cycle is governed by system level requirements, mission level requirements, flight integration requirements. But it really just means that it's a very highly scrutinized activity. But there are plenty of other industries that are just as or more scrutinized. For instance, a medical device or any kind of mission critical device for avionics, aerospace, things like ground support equipment for telecommunications, etc. So the philosophy of test and design for spaceflight hardware translates very nicely into other mission critical applications or highly regulated environments. And the reason that the manned spaceflight stuff that you're talking about, Carmina, with, for instance, Elon Musk, obviously you're protecting human beings, and that's a very important thing. But even in the unmanned spaceflight sector, the flight safety and flight termination hardware on a vehicle is maybe the most regulated activity on the planet. For instance, destroying a rocket if it goes off course, that kinds of thing. So it's really a philosophical approach to testing and product design for reliability, but that translates very nicely into many other industries.
I think that this is the most relevant point, is the fact that the space technologies are really for things down on Earth and not up in space. And I always give this example of space technologies in a packet of crisps. Or in your mobile phone, there are so many things there. And the point is to translate the industrial processes, the high quality industrial processes used for space into any other industrial process, I guess. Okay, how is your presence in UK? How can people access you?
Okay, so Scythe Systems and Argenta Consulting are two separate companies, but we have joined forces to create a consortium that is focusing on providing high quality, reliable test and automation equipment for any industry. Chris put our emails up on the board, but the quite simple answer is to go to www.scythe.com. I'm putting that in the Q&A, and www.argentaconsult.com. And both of those are ways to get a hold of us if you ever have any questions. Both of those platforms have a number of case studies and some interesting learning material, blog posts, and those kinds of things. But more than anything, you'll see between our two companies a philosophy of providing very carefully thought out and executed solutions for a wide variety of industries.
Okay, Wes, thank you. I need to give space to the next presenter that already started talking, but actually it is a video that we prepared, but that's, I mean.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody.
Start of the day. Thank you. Please stay online and be ready because there might be other questions. And people, if it is okay, I would pass your contacts to people that would inquire afterwards. Thank you. So I would like to invite on board Pippa Blessed. She has some nice ideas that she would like to share with you. And so that's what I'm doing right now.
Very much for inviting me here today. Hello everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me here today. My name is Pippa Blessed. I'm the founder of exceptionalzebra.com, and I specialise in performance and leadership training for organisations of all sizes, from corporates right down to startups. I have about 20 years commercial experience in marketing, strategy, communications, and in training and coaching. So I've got a really good sort of insight into how organisations need to innovate and how they need to cope in times of change. Now, today we're going to look at fear and what that does to our ability to think creatively and to be innovative. So fear, to be honest with you, it really is the four-letter word of creativity and innovation. Fear in a business context can really mean anything that ranges from feeling a bit anxious to perhaps being angry or any kind of negative emotions, right through to feeling absolutely petrified. So there's a big range that we're talking about for fear as a concept. And I think it's safe to say that everyone in these last few months is experiencing heightened levels of anxiety, which is why it's so important to look at what that does to our brains and to how that impacts on our ability to innovate for our businesses. So the first thing to know about fear is that you'll have heard, I'm sure, of the fight, flight or freeze mechanism. Now, that is what our bodies do as an ancient animal to respond to anything that falls in that fear sort of scope of emotion. But the reality is, as we all know, you cannot run, fight or hide from business problems. You can't run away from COVID, you can't hide from competitors, and it's not going to do you any good to fight against your customers' new needs. So we've got to be able to override that basic instinct that we have. Now, it's useful to know that your brain roughly falls into 3 parts. So there's your reptilian brain, which is your oldest part of your brain. That's kind of loosely towards the back. And that's where that fight, flight, freeze comes in. Basically, that bit of our brain has a message that goes, same as safe, different danger. So when change happens, it can kick into there and make us have that instant response. And that can be anything from, as I said, abject terror to actually as simple as, you know, when you have an argument and about 10 minutes later, you think of the perfect comeback. That's because your brain was working in that bit in the back, in that reptilian bit of your brain. So you can't really think of good things to say. That's because your emotions are also in play. Now they happen in the middle bit of your brain, which is the mammalian brain. It's a bit more evolved, and that's where we have our emotions, our relationships build there, very important for our rapport. And when we're in that emotional state, we're also going in between where we're not able to think really straight. We're in between our natural instinct to run away and our emotions spinning around in the middle. What we've got to do is kickstart our brains to move into the most developed part of our brain, that third bit, and that's our frontal cortex. This is the bit that makes us different from other species. This is where our critical thinking can occur, where our original innovative thinking can occur. And that's the bit that we've got to engage when we hit a problem. So next time you feel afraid or worried or anxious about something going on with your business, you're going to be in that reptilian or mammalian bit with the emotions and the instinct to hide or run away, and you've got to get it into that frontal cortex. 3 great tips I'm going to give you today to do that. Number 1, you've got to stop what you're doing straight away, because you cannot operate well in that bit of your brain that is going to solve the problems. Your brain isn't there. So take a walk, have a cup of tea, cuddle the cat. It doesn't matter, just slow it down, breathe a bit. Then you're going to name your emotion. Now this sounds a bit potty, but if you consider what is my emotion that I'm experiencing here, is it anger? Is it confusion? Am I tired? Am I hungry? Am I hangry? Then you're instantly moving your brain into that problem solving space, into that frontal cortex, and you're creating a bit of space between you and the problem. So you're going to feel less emotionally engaged because your brain isn't in that mammalian emotional space, and it's going to take some of the fear out. And when you combine that with the fact that you've stopped doing what you were doing, you're having a little bit of a break for a few minutes, that's really quite powerful. And the next thing that I would say to do is to collaborate. If you fill your life and your space with interesting, innovative people, you are going to find it a lot easier to keep your brain operating in that positive growth mindset space that we all need as entrepreneurs. And very much when you're looking for people to collaborate at the moment, I would say look to your peers, people who really get what you're going through as an entrepreneur. And also look for people who fill you with energy, not those terrible black holes that suck all your emotion. You need people who make you feel great. So those 3 tips to really stop fear in its tracks and get you being innovative as possible with your business to get that competitive edge, they are slow down, name your emotion, and collaborate. And do you know what? I will see you on the other side with your fabulous businesses. And if you need anything, if you just want to chat through some ideas, you can always check me out on LinkedIn. Just look up Pippa Blessett or look at my website, exceptionalzebra.com. Thank you.
You're on mute.
Hi, is that better?
Hello, Pippa.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Always this trick of going mute. So really, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. Excellent. Really, thank you for this conversation. I have a question exactly from Wes, because he is asking, how does this relate to procrastination? This is very interesting.
Yeah, procrastination is great, isn't it? Procrastination is absolutely one of those signs of fear. So we often talk about the fight or flight, but actually freeze is much more common. And procrastination is really just a form of freeze. So it's very instinctive when we don't know what is next to stay still, be that emotionally or physically, because where we are is alive. So it comes down to that very basic fear of, you know, same is safe, change, you know, so there's something different could kill me. So the way in which to tackle that procrastination is, it is really useful to do that, slow down and stop and go, what's going on? I'm a terrible one for procrastinating. And I literally have to say to myself, why am I not doing this? What am I worried about? What am I hating? And sometimes it might be, oh, do you know what? I just can't handle the IT, you know, or it might be, actually, I haven't got the information I need, or I am feeling, you know, imposter syndrome is kicking in. I'm feeling that I'm not right for this, or there's something out of my control. So it's, if you identify what that blocker is, then you can put those sensible actions in place to be able to move forward. And these are, you know, I mean, it's a little embarrassing following a rocket scientist, but, you know, these things aren't rocket science, but they are things that we haven't perhaps ever been taught. And actually, there are very simple steps to put in place that make a massive difference to your day. Does that help? Does that answer?
Oh, I guess yes. And this is very, very interesting because it's about really our behavior and how we can analyze our emotions externally and take action to mitigate them. I see that there is a question that came in. Oh no, okay, apparently sometimes someone has seen Frozen, but I've seen you were quite okay. So thanks for a very lively presentation. The feeling of fear, fight, freeze is really prevalent at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that we'd be struggling to find anyone who hasn't felt heightened anxiety. And this week, I've really noticed, talking to, you know, people in all sorts of different businesses and just people in my social circle as well. There's a lot of fear around. But the thing that's interesting, is really interesting in relation to fear and COVID, is that for us as a business, for us as business people, you've always got to be driving change. And actually, that goes against our instinct as human beings, as animals. But in reality, there is always change. And we know this. We know that you've got to evolve or die. And that's how it is. So COVID's only really shined a spotlight on our greatest anxieties about that. I mean, pre-COVID, there was an interesting Harvard Business Review report out, and that said that 53% of all businesses needed to completely change, you know, what they do every 3 years, and that was pre-COVID. That's just the pace of how our business lives revolve. And so this whole element of being able to cope with change, it isn't anything new. It's just become more acute, and it's happened to us all at once. And it's come into our homes, it's come into our private lives, it's come into our families. We've got very real fears about health, about the health of people that we know and love. It's a very real threat, not just a business threat. It's not in a compartment. So I think that that's why it's more important than ever to go, actually, hang on, this isn't going away. You know, but what can I do in order to be able to just be a happier, more resilient person? And that goes into all of our stages of our lives, every single area of your life. All of the same rules apply. You know, if you're having a row at home, doing that, actually, I'm going to take a little breather and think about what my emotion is and think about what's wrong. That's going to help you solve the problem rather than just standing there having a blazing argument. And it's exactly the same with problem solving in the workplace. And we can only be creative in that frontal cortex. So if as soon as you're emotional or know that you're freezing or frightened or procrastinating, you cannot be working in that frontal cortex. So you've got to kick it over, whatever the reason.
Okay. Pippa, really, thank you. This was very, very interesting. And it's time now to move on and give voice to another innovator. And I would like to invite Lyndon Sweeney. Thank you again, Pippa. Oh, good morning, Lyndon. You are live.
Good morning. I hope everyone's okay. Would you like me to start when you're ready?
And the public as well.
Okay. I just wanted to share some brief thoughts with you. Some of you may have seen the if it had a title, Natural Selection for Business, and how does natural selection, what correlations does that have with business? But I'd like to explain. Natural selection is defined as a process that results in some animals and plants with certain characteristics being better adjusted than others. Certain characteristics that are better adjusted than others. Within the UK, it was estimated during 2020, roughly 21,000 plus businesses closed during this period for many different reasons. I would like to share, and I would like to say that a lot of those, the majority of those, could have been prevented. And many of these businesses that had to close are casualties that were unnecessary casualties, and that the volatile environment that we're in could have actually been avoided. This 2020 year has caused many businesses to have many issues. And for me, it's come down to three key areas, three key things that caused a lot of these businesses to have failures and what seemed like a fully functioning business. I've given them very poor titles of these topics, and you can give me suggestions on better ones during the presentation if you'd like. Poor diversity, COVID plus, and COVID minus. Starting off with poor diversity. So we all know some of the injustices that have been taking place in America. Following the death of George Floyd and other situations, it has been a social upheaval around racism within the country and beyond. It's something along the entire system and the socio-economic climate. However, as business owners, there's not a lot we can do about that. But there is something we can do about the business that we are in, the business that we work in right now. Not taking a bigger step, a more involved step to have a strong involvement in inclusion and having a more diverse team negatively impacts the business. There's a Harvard Business Review that shared that a business is 45% more likely to grow and to report growth with a more diverse team. And a diverse team isn't a team where you hire an ethnic minority to be the head of diversity and that's it. It's a lot more than just that step. And that's been the most common step that we've seen throughout this time period. The second key part I would say is COVID plus. With many businesses during this period, during 2020, and especially during COVID, they've received an exponential growth, something that they never expected. Clients and customers are coming into their service, to their platform, needing their services. But the problem is they never set up the correct infrastructure to be able to deal with this growth. Zoom probably being the most common platform of this. As when we first started using Zoom within ARC in my business, I had to explain and convince people what Zoom was, believe it or not. Now it's such a common household name more than anything else, arguably even more than toilet paper. And yet it's a platform that has had so many issues because of their security flaws that they intended to fix later down the line should they grow. It even got to the point where there are some government officials who is choosing not to use Zoom because of their security flaws. And these are things that could have been rectified should a more robust plan be put in place to handle growth. And this is something that they face and is really a painful situation for them. And many of the businesses who had this random growth couldn't handle it. The last one I'm calling COVID minus, and probably the most popular of the reasons why businesses have closed during 2019. If you had a friend that came to you and said, do you know what, at the moment I'm living pay month to pay month. I don't really have a great amount of savings. And on top of that, should I lose my job, I don't really have a plan to be able to survive afterwards. I hope, this being your friend, you would say something, you would help them, you'd encourage them and put these principles in place. Yet for some reason within business, that seems to be okay. Once there's enough revenue that just overcomes our expenditures or income just goes above, then that's okay. And that's something that we're going to deal with later. But in fact, this isn't okay. And this is a problem that we are experiencing and many business experiences say, you know what, this sudden downturn, this sudden lack of income has caused major issues and has forced them to close. This isn't something a business should have been going through or dealing with. Now, a business may be able to survive one of these things. You know, they may be able to survive exponential growth, but without planning in place or without diversity, then the business isn't growing. And a business that isn't growing is a business that has the writing on the wall. But when you look at natural selection, it's a lot more than just the negatives. It's more than just the individuals who weren't able to survive. In fact, natural selection focuses around the success stories, the animals that were able to adapt and move forward. And that is also a focus that should be around these businesses that survive as well. It's going to take work. In order to make these changes and to be able to build a stronger business, it is going to take work. It's going to be a case of where to increase the diversity, having to relook at the entire structure of hiring your employees. The platforms that you used before, the solutions you used before, maybe have to research into something different. It means spending time and strengthening your workplace and your team. It means involving more training, how to deal with this unexpected growth should it come across. It means creating pipeline in roles as well as software to deal with growth should it arrive. But it also means a stronger strategic plan should anything happen and revenue stop coming in. It's a deeper look at risk assessments and even a refresh of your legal documentation, your legal protection. If it was very easy to do these different things, then this call would have far more than the 111 plus people that registered, because everyone would be doing it, but it's not. But it is possible. It's something you can implement right now, today, within your business to be able to strengthen them for tomorrow. See, the more people that continue to use diversity, the more people that create a business that understands how to plan for rapid growth and forecasting, and those who focus around financial strategies during times of hardship, these are the businesses that are going to survive. So the truth is, we are all part of businesses with natural selection, and it's our opportunity to adapt and to grow.
Lyndon, thank you. This is really, really inspiring. I have one question indeed. So lockdown has been a moment to stop for quite a few businesses actually. And one thing that could happen was fear, and this was discussed by people. But the other time is, the point is, being forced to stop for a while maybe was also an opportunity to think or rethink something of the business. What is your experience about this? And do you think that it was a shared sentiment about reorganizing ourselves or being ready and start off again?
Absolutely. It's a great question, I think, and Pippa can raise some points to that as well. One of the things I've been sharing with our clients within our digital agency, our consulting clients, even before the lockdown, it was compulsory that every single one of them had at least 3 months worth of cash to be able to support the entire business. That's not to support the boards or the directors. That's even down to the cleaners, every single element of the business. And what this situation meant was, A, the business was able to continue with minimal or no cash flow. But second of all, it's time for you to have a look and say, right, what do we have within our business? And this is where we're talking about innovation from inclusion. You're going to the guys in finance and saying, right, what do you guys think? We're in a situation where our own government is trying to come up with the best solutions possible. Even yesterday, the announcement that was made for further steps to help with businesses to be able to continue moving forward. It's an opportunity to be able to access these people and say to them, what do you think? What can we do? Where can we go? And it turns out that person in finance is actually really good at content writing. So the opportunity is there to boost your online presence and to give more reasons for people to come back to your platform. The individual that is working in a different area, say legal, well, they've got this great strategy where they can still use the premises of the office, but use it more as a distribution center for local businesses around the area. So in actual fact, if you had the infrastructure in place beforehand to plan for economic downturn, then actually you can use the opportunity and say, right, we have 3 months to be able to come up with something. And this is 3 months of no income, not low income, but no income, which means if you're able to generate some sort of income, that's an even longer time frame you have to continue. So this is actually a common thing that came up with our clients within our digital agency and some of the solutions that we provided across to them.
Okay, Lyndon, thank you. I need to pass to the next presenter, but thank you again for joining us and for grabbing the mic. And I invite everyone, if you have questions, just please drop them into the Q&A. Lyndon will stay with us and respond as Pippa is also doing, and so also applies to 20%. Really, thank you again, Lyndon. And I would like to pass the video and the mic to Domingo Armengol-Larcas, and well, there is a revolution coming on with the mobility, and I think that you have something to say.
I will. Yeah, I have. Yes. Are you gonna play the video, or should I go for it?
If you have the video, you have to share it. Otherwise, it's already live. You can talk freely as you prefer.
Okay. Yeah. Don't worry about it. So yeah, I am Domingo. Hello, everyone. I'm the CEO and founder of Unicycle Solutions, and everything started when I got my bicycle stolen, and most of you know about me and my project, but I tried to solve bicycle theft, which is a big problem now. And as Polly Carmen said, there's a revolution coming here. It was expected before the pandemic in 2023 that it was going to be a revolution, that twice the volume of bicycles were going to be around. However, with this pandemic, this 3-year period got into straightaway interfaces. Now in the pandemic since March, the 50% more of bicycle theft occur in cities. And as you may know, the government has put a £2 billion package to increase to cycling infrastructure, because they know that bicycles are a big deal in future cities. And we were in that change as well. However, that 50%, it makes cyclists don't want to cycle, because bicycle theft is a really big deal, and there's no big solutions out there to solve this bicycle theft. People think that it's a common thing, that they're afraid to cycle, but that has changed, because now public transport is a no. Due to some restrictions, and people are tempted just to stay at home, because we can pay, we can do the shopping online, and we can do everything online. So there's a fear to people stop socializing, go away, go to work, and all those things. So bicycle is a big feature now of mobility, and that shifts a bit on our in a company, because before COVID came, we were quite afraid to launch because we were not ready enough. But we saw that the opportunity was there. There have been so many companies coming now with different solutions for mobility, smart systems to track. And Strava has done a lot of things around this, so we decided to launch. And we're launching because we want people to feel safe, makes cycling easy, secure, and accessible for all. And we're launching. We are starting to do first pilots. We want to do the first pilots in cities and universities. This is our main customer now, and they're the innovators that really urge this solution. So I think that in this world where uncertainty, we have shifted a lot to data. People need data. The councils need data to put the cycling infrastructure in place now, and they don't know how to do it. They count it by hand, and they don't know how to do it. So we are providing that type of data as well. So we are an innovator an innovative company that is coming to a traditional industry. So we're here to make a change and make cycling the preferred mode of transport. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Domingo. And I've seen that some of the questions in the Q&A are arriving late, so maybe presenters are responding offline. But in the meantime, I have a question for you, because you are a nice example of what we call a student enterprise. How did you decide to get engaged into this? How did it happen?
I'm sorry, but short, I got my bike stolen in first year at university, and I studied physics with astrophysics, and complete different thing as business and entrepreneurship and innovation. But I wanted to do something different. I knew that we could do a lot of things in the fix, but I wanted to change a bit. And I knew that bicycle theft was a really big issue and no one take the matter into hands. So I did a lot of customer discovery, research in general, and I saw a really big opportunity there. So I just decided to go for one of the events in the Innovation Hub or somewhere else, and I said my idea, but just I spotted the problem and just want to go for it. And this having zero knowledge of business or anything else. So then people helped me and they told me that this was a really good idea and that I should go for it. So I decided to bring a team together, and with help of the Innovation Hub, the business school and everything, I took it forward. And after a year and a half, now we have a team of 5. We are launching the product. We're ready to go out there to put our first orders, and I'm working full time on this. So I think it's been a big change. My life has changed a lot, and I think that entrepreneurship now it's a really good career path that not many students think about, because they say, oh, it's scary, or how do I'm gonna do, or it's different, and can be scary. But I think that it has to be more emphasized and give more importance to, because I think it's what I've learned in literally a year and a half just with my business. It's more than I've learned any of my life with any degree or anything, with a lot of respect on that. It's true.
Okay, there is a question that has come through. Do you have many customers yet?
Good question. So we have many potential customers. There's a lot of people that really want to buy our product. So we are a B2B, so we are business to business. We are focusing on business, so in councils, universities, corporates, etc. And before this, we got almost a deal with university to buy our bicycle racks. However, due to COVID, the preference and of all these businesses have changed to just survival. So they are not looking for innovation or spend more money in products, etc., which is understanding, but they're also looking at ways to try to improve ways to their employees to go to work or those things. So they're also looking for it. So we have a pipeline of a few councils and a few universities that want to start the pilot of our product. So that will probably go in the next few months if everything goes well and there's not any more hard outbreaks, which is hard to prevent.
Okay, we need to go ahead. Just one final question. How hard is to identify the first customer and how hard is to reach to the second one?
That's a big one. I think that it's hard, but if you go out then and ask, you will find someone that has had the same problem as you had, and is really looking for a solution for it, and will take anything to do that. And the second one is just pulling that first customer and asking for who do they know and what's the lowest hanging fruit to keep going.
Thank you. I trust this is of inspiration for many startups. Okay, thank you, Domingo. I need to greet you. Please stay online and be ready to respond to late inquiries through the chat. So I'm giving a voice now to the next presenter, who is Jamie Batley from Unite Hemp. You are live, Jamie. Thank you for joining us. And there is always a lot of irony when one talks about hemp and what can be done with
Thanks
hemp.
for joining us today.
But actually, it is a very
I'm the CEO of Unite
relevant
Hemp, and I'm here
material.
today to talk to you about.
Oh, sorry, this has started
A little
without you.
bit about us. We're
Wait a minute. Sorry, this was starting without me. So I'm sending the video live right now.
Thanks, Colin. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. My name's Jamie Batley. I'm the CEO of Unite Hemp, and I'm here today to talk to you about how hemp can be the solution to the decarbonisation of the construction, agricultural and energy sectors here. So a little bit about us. We're leading the green industrial revolution here in the UK and really focused on the valorisation of the whole hemp plant and how it can have the most positive disruptive effects into multiple sectors when we look at decarbonisation. We believe the opportunity is now. There's so many reasons that hemp is a solution to various aspects of our current lives, providing a far more sustainable alternative than the products we're currently reliant on. Okay, so some of these problems then, climate change is the main one that underpins a lot of these, but with the amount of CO2 that's been emitted and greenhouse gases driving a global temperature increase, that leads to water shortages. There's an increasing requirement for water and it's getting to unsustainable levels. And there's also an increased energy demand globally as we've increased technology and usage, and also we've found that there's obviously further development in countries and there's therefore a further requirement for their energy needs. And our energies at the moment, we're running out of renewable sources. We need to focus on how we can find more sustainable sources of energy that aren't as dependent on certainly fossil fuels, but even some of the large forestry that has predominantly been used over the last 15-20 years. And then also the industrial impact. Manufacturers know they need to decarbonise, but they need the products that allow them to do that. They need those alternative products, and we believe hemp will be a solution in the bio-based economy. So why is hemp the solution? Well, it's really various factors. It needs 10 times less water to cultivate and process into textiles than cotton does, and it increases the attenuation capacity of the soils, so it allows them to hold more water naturally. It requires zero inputs during its growth, so it doesn't need any fertilizers or pesticides. That reduces the emissions to groundwater and also the emissions of CO2 from agricultural equipment. And the real win for hemp is carbon sequestration. It will bioabsorb 25 times the CO2 that the same size area of rainforest will in its 4 months growth cycle. So it means 1 hectare of hemp will absorb 15 tons of CO2 during its growth. Let's look at some of the products we can make them from hemp. So we can produce bioethanol, which is carbon negative, and it could be in for the beverage and sanitizer markets or for road fuels and transportation. Green hydrogen, which is going to be a big requirement for the national gas grids and also for HGV fuel sources. And then we've got construction materials as well. We can produce carbon negative insulation products that are thermodynamically superior to the existing products and naturally antimicrobial, so they passively clean the air in the buildings. We can produce composite construction boards, and eventually we're looking to develop a 100% modular hemp housing system. Okay, so we're going to continue the research with the university's been working with, but we do feel now we've got multiple elements of the plan required to deliver our solution on scale. The solution is a green industrial revolution. We need to make these drastic changes across the multiple sectors and to achieve the decarbonisation that's critical for the future health of the planet. Hemp is a viable solution with our sustainable model that can be adopted globally, and we can achieve all the UN Sustainable Development Goals whilst ensuring a profitable return to farmers and local economies. So ultimately, now there is a global awareness of the problems, a desire to do things better and in a renewable, circular manner. It's time for the solution, hemp.
So, Jamie, thank you, and this was terribly interesting. On my side, I have, as a material, hemp is unbelievable, and I have personally an example. I come from a region where hemp was used in last century as a textile material. And I would like to understand with you, what is the size and penetration of the market?
Okay, so I mean, certainly globally, hemp's been used for thousands of years. There was a lot of underdevelopment and lack of research and development over the last 100 years since prohibition in the 1920s in the US. It spread to most of the globe, apart from pretty much China, who carried on. China is the largest hemp economy at the moment globally. They've really developed a lot. I think they've got around 55,000 hectares, I believe, and last year was cultivated over in China. They've really focused on multiple markets for it, but I think there's a lot of higher technology products that get looked at now in different markets as well. There's a lot of work on graphene and really trying to develop it into multiple sectors and multiple uses.
Yes, excellent. And another question on my side. How was your business affected by the lockdown?
So, I mean, we did have an impact in that we were trying to close an investment into the large infrastructure processing plant that we're trying to develop over in Leicestershire. That mainly impacted because the funders' value of the funds that they were going to bring into the development devalued quite considerably. So there was an impact there. I mean, we're in the agricultural sector that obviously was deemed critical work, so we could continue to work. We did cultivate hemp again this year, and we've just completed our harvest at the moment. But certainly it had an impact on our development timeline with regards to the actual processing plant that we're looking to construct.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. And now I really need to pass the.
Hi there, my name's Jessica, and I'm here to tell you about Swapshop Leicester.
Sorry, that when I prepare it starts, but okay. So I need to pass okay. A question from an anonymous before I leave you. Are you growing hemp directly?
Yes, we've got 1,700 acres licensed in the UK. So yeah, we're the UK's largest licensed hemp cultivators.
Okay, Jamie, please, if you could just monitor. Okay, I see another one. Hemp as a solution has been around for a while. Why do you think it has not been picked or used more to date?
I think it's really around education. There's still a lot of people in the UK. You mentioned hemp, or ultimately hemp is cannabis sativa ale, but there's still a lot of prohibition belief, if you like, around the original campaign that brought prohibition worldwide, and that's probably prevented the uptake a little bit. There's also licensing requirements, which means that compared to some other alternative crops, it is a little bit more difficult to go and cultivate. But actually, I think its benefits far outweigh those issues. I mean, it's on its sustainability elements, it's exactly what we need for so many different solutions at the moment in the UK and globally.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Please, if you could continue monitoring the Q&A, the live Q&A, because something more may come through. Okay.
No problem at all. Thanks, Carmen. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And I'm giving voice now to Jessica Southworth, and I'm sending her live right now.
Hi there, my name's Jessica, and I'm here to tell you about Swapshop Leicester. This is a new free platform that was actually developed by 3 people in Derby who wanted local businesses to be able to come together and share their services. We are now launching the Leicester branch. So Leicester and Leicestershire, we're looking for small businesses who would like to get involved and exchange services rather than money to help each other grow and continue, especially in difficult times like this. So it's a relatively simple system. All you have to do is put up something on the website that your business would need. So for example, maybe you need something printing and you can offer in exchange some data entry services. Or maybe you are a small business that does cleaning of people's homes and you could offer that in exchange for some ideas on social media advertising, for example. So it's a relatively simple system. I'll take your questions about it later, but the website has just recently launched, and all you need to do is register on there and then start getting up your offers. It's all pretty flexible and friendly, so even if you don't have anything in particular that you know that you'd like to give, for example, if you want to put up the thing that you need, then you can enter a conversation with another business and see what they might need from you and how you might swap together. So hopefully it should provide a really nice kind of networking opportunity for people, as well as a very practical way of saving people some cash and cash flow and being able to get people to interact with each other within the small business community. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your questions, and hopefully we'll get lots of you able to interact and work with one another in the Leicester and Leicestershire areas.
Okay, Jessica, really thank you for sharing this material and this information. And while we wait for questions to come in, I have my first one. How did it start?
So this actually started with 3 businesses in Derbyshire who kind of realised that this was an issue, that people were kind of needed a more informal way of trading with each other over especially kind of the lockdown. So I think they launched in May when things were a little bit tighter, and they have just kind of given up their time to make this happen, basically. Then they opened the Nottingham one, and now we're opening the Leicestershire one.
Okay, how do businesses access this resource?
Can I share my screen?
Yes, yes.
Is it that? Let's have a look. Desktop. I'll try desktop. Can you see that?
I need to share it for you, so I'm sending it live right now. Yes, yes, should be live.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the website. As you can see, there's the address up there. Swapshop, because it's Leicester and Leicestershire. You can, even if you don't register, you can see a couple of swaps, but I will log myself in, and then you should be able to see everybody's swaps and exactly how you would add a swap if you wanted to. So it's all very straightforward. You would register if you needed to register, but now I have to try and remember my password, which is never a thing I can do. So let's have a look. Is that it? I think it is. Amazing. No, it's not. Great. I knew this would happen. Yes. Okay. So this is the swap that I have added. So I've said that I would like to give private yoga lessons in return for a professional business headshot. But you can, so then you can just add a swap on here if you want to. So you just basically, if you wanted to put something else in, you would make a particular offer. So for example, you might offer the zebra services here, and then but in return what you would like is say somebody to do some data entry for you, as I mentioned previously. You can tag it and then give a little bit more detail as well on exactly how that might work, and then create the swap. And then what basically happens is you can go in here to all the swaps that are available. And at the moment, so we've got, for example, Hami is offering some SEO optimization, and he would like somebody to talk to him about branding. And then we've got things like a review of a business plan from Elliot Harris, who is a professional in that, but he doesn't have many website skills, so he would like somebody to review their website, his website, and make it a little bit more effective in some way. And then we've got golf lessons in exchange for marketing strategy, for example. So it's all pretty straightforward, and then all that will happen if you wanted to go in and get one of these, for example, so let's say I wanted this one, then you would contact Elliot. So there's a bit more detail here, a bit more description about what happens. So you can have a little read through that, and then you can make contact through the website. Type that with him and get in touch with Elliot, and then you can make that discussion as well. So if that doesn't quite work, or you need some other service or whatever, so it can just be a bit of a conversation starter rather than it having to be like nothing is written in stone on this website. It is it's kind of it can just be a discussion starter, if that makes sense.
Yes. Thank you, Jessica. I have a question for you, which is quite interesting. The Batman, is he happy with your bartering exchanges? The point is about VAT.
Right, that is a really good question. So there are terms and conditions that basically say there's a few things on there in terms of what we will allow as swaps and what we won't. So it's not really there just to advertise your business. It's not really there to offer discounts and things like that. And then the other thing about the VAT is that you do have to take care of that yourself. So if it's something, so you basically just have to get your accountant to clear whether you your payment of VAT on that service that you've offered, if that makes sense. So the details, essentially, kind of the small print and the accounting side of things, is something that you have to take care of if your business is VAT registered.
Is there a cost to join?
Nope, it's all free. It's all free. It's all run by volunteers who just wanted to kind of make the service available to people. So no, there is absolutely no cost to it at all.
Okay, Jessica, thank you. And as usual, please stay and monitor the chat as late questions may come in. I need to pass the voice to the next presenter, who is Lindsay Newman. Jessica, thank you again for
no problem. Thank you for having me.
Okay guys, good afternoon. It's Lindsay here from Passion Marketing and Innovation. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes just chatting to you about some really cool tips to have better meetings. So the Workshopper Playbook, which is a great source for if you want to facilitate better meetings. It's by AJ and Smart. They're known for their design sprints that came from Google, and which is what I do, as well as the marketing consultancy. But today, because we've only got 5 minutes, I'm going to really whiz through a really quick way to have better meetings and better outcomes. And this should make you more innovative and more creative. Okay, so let's jam. Let's do our lightning decision jam. So first of all, as I said, referring to this book again, great source of facilitation. And what I want you to do, you are the facilitator for this. So what I want you to imagine is that you have either a whiteboard or you're using it on Teams or Zoom. You're using your remote whiteboard, and I want you to draw a ship. And the ship should look like this. So you should have a boat or a ship with the sails on the top and the anchor on the bottom. And the sail is to indicate things that are taking us forward. And the anchor are the things that are dragging us down and keeping us stuck. So what you want to do is you want to tell your team, take out your sticky notes, again, either remotely or in person, and write on them, just not talking to anyone else, no discussion, write on there things that are taking us forward. So start with the positive, guys, things that are taking you forward, and you stick them all on where the sales are and the things that are moving you forward. So what is your problem and what are the positives about that actual challenge that you've got? So let's imagine it's your office. And you can say, well, we love the office because it's got lots of natural light, lots of space. So once you've done that, I want you to start to think about some of the negatives. So we start with the positive because that really sets the tone. Then I want the team to start thinking about things that are getting in the way. So that might be, there's too much noise in the office, it's too cramped, I get disturbed, whatever that is. So that's the second stage. So once they've written on those sticky notes, I want you to give them 3 of these dots each. And they can use the 3 dots to vote on the best things about the office, and then the 3 things that are the most challenging. So 3 for the top and 3 for the bottom. Now you can do this in any order. You can vote on your own that you've suggested, or you can vote on other people's, or you can put 2 dots on one and 1 on the other, and let the team actually decide on the most challenging thing that's really holding you back on that particular challenge. Okay, so now we've got all the challenges there. We've got everybody's voted, and as facilitator you will group those. So there might be some that are quite similar as well, but you then need to do almost like a tree and say, well, this is the top one, this is what most people voted on, and then you'll show it in priority order. So for example, we'll take the office environment as an easy, simple exercise. Let's say that people say it's just too noisy, you know, so we need to change that into our challenge. So what we do, what we call how might we, and how might we actually frames that as a challenge for you. So something like it's too noisy in the office might turn into how might we make it quieter for those that want quiet space. So we're going to say how might we reduce the noise for those people that want it quieter. Now what we do is we get the team to start really getting their ideas again. So we use our post-it notes again, use a different colour. So if you used blue before, use your pink ones, get your Sharpie out and get everybody really thinking about some creative ideas, and then get them to stick them on the wall, or if it's remotely, stick them on your whiteboard, on the remote whiteboard. Okay, so once you've got all those ideas up and you've done your timer, you've given say 3 or 4 minutes, whatever you decide as a facilitator, you then start to get people to vote. So again, people are using those little sticky dots, and they're going up and they're going to vote for the ones they like best. So this is taking it from lots and lots of ideas to let's vote for the best ideas. So this might be, let's get noise cancelling headphones for everyone in the office. Let's have quiet booths for people. There might be lots and lots of ideas, but this gets people to vote on the very best one. So as facilitator, you've now got the priority of the ideas, and what you can start to do is map it on, you might have seen this before, it's sort of a matrix that shows the impact and the effort. You can start saying what has got the most impact but the least effort. That's going to be your sweet spot, isn't it, in that corner? So you start to map them out as a facilitator, and then you put them in there, and then you decide on the solutions you're going to go forward with. Okay, so you're going to be coming towards the end of your workshop now. You might have spent probably up to about 40 minutes here, but you've got some really great ideas and everybody's felt they were part of this as well. So now the important thing is about taking action. So having then an action plan that you agree with your team of how you're going to take that forward. So we voted on the noise cancelling headphones, and in the workshop book it will show you how to actually do an action plan within here, and what you will do now will make it into a project, and then you will have some key actions that you'll agree with your team of who's doing what, how you're going to test that new idea, and then what's going to be the result, and how are you going to measure it, how are you going to measure success. So hopefully you'll have got some great tips from this. If you need any more help, please get in touch with me. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Lindsay Newman Ward. I'd love to connect with more of you, and if you need any help, please give me a shout.
So Lindsay, you are live now, and thank you. This was really an interesting and very, very relevant tip. I would like to understand, in your experience, what is the adoption rate of this type of processes into businesses?
Well, one of the things that really helps is having this sort of process for businesses when they are really stuck with challenges. And because it was only a 5-minute video, I didn't get a chance to really put it into context, which was a lot of time is spent and wasted in meetings, and now we're all sort of working from home. Sometimes you feel completely fed up with endless team meetings, endless Zoom meetings that never really go anywhere. So it's the take-up rate. Usually when I'm able to present these solutions and processes to companies where they just feel like they just are in endless meetings, the take-up rate is great once they can see what the results can yield, really.
Okay, how has been in this COVID time easy or simple for companies to reorganize around these new approaches?
Well, as long as people are happy to adapt to doing this remotely, I mean, there's no better way of doing it than being in person and being able to physically get up and put post-it notes, you know, and vote. But it still works really well remotely. It just means that sometimes the sessions have to be broken down. So say we did a full sprint, which is usually 5 days. We wouldn't do that just over 5 days. We'd spread it out longer and have shorter, maybe half days instead. So with this Lightning Decision Jam, though, you can do that in 40 minutes to an hour. And that works really well, and it just helps people work more quickly through problems and come up with better solutions instead of just long drawn out conversations that never really turn into action.
Okay. Is this something for everyone? Is it something for companies only of a certain size? What is your experience on this?
It's great for all sizes of business. I think it works best if you have at least a small team, because if it's just you, it's harder, but you do need to have other people involved. But I have worked with some startup businesses where there's maybe only 2 or 3 people, but we've invited some of the experts into the session. So it might be potential clients or investors or experts that we invite into the session. So it works, ideally it works with teams about 6 to 8 people upwards, but you know, even if it's a one-man band, we can find a way around that.
Okay, and there is a question. It is about, do you use the sprint methodology from Google Ventures?
Yes, we do. Yeah, so the Lightning Decision Jam is kind of like a precursor or a smaller version of the design sprint methodology from Google. That's what we actually do.
Okay, and so I have this one, which is thank you, Lindsay. Good, simple tool. Can see me using it. Also loved your energy and presentation style. Okay, this is really a compliment from a certain eye. It's not me, but I totally agree indeed.
Thank you. It was really hard to get into 5 minutes, so I had to edit it down so that you got that in 5 minutes. So it was pretty fast.
Yes, no, but that's okay. I mean, would have been longer, but we wanted to maximize the amount of people speaking and grabbing the mic. Really, thank you.
I just want to say as well, if people do want to see a longer version where I can talk them through, I'm gonna put something up on a YouTube channel over the weekend. So you know, drop me a line and I'll send them the full video if they need it.
Yes, please, and everyone, please continue interacting on the Q&A if needed. And for you, as everyone else, please stay aligned a little bit more to respond to eventually to coming questions. Okay. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
And thank you, Lindsay. And it's time to me now. Because we wanted to discuss with you about how taking innovative processes in your businesses can be done and how the university can help you and how this can be either free or almost free for businesses. So I'm going to share a presentation with you and go over it with you. So the first point I would like to highlight is some popular myths about innovation, because people think sometimes innovation is not for me. And what I ask is, really? Let's talk about your business. Let me understand, because possibly you are already innovating and you don't know it, or you are not associating that process to your business or to what you are doing. And really, this happened several times in my life, in my experience. And even when I go to my barber, he has so many new ideas, and he puts them into practice into his business, and his business has been growing exponentially, even during lockdown. How? Exactly because he used the lockdown to prepare for new ideas and develop them and bring them to the market as soon as it could open. So, and if I use the word innovation with him, he said, what is innovation? But I'm not an innovator. Yes, you are doing. You are not aware of it, but you are doing it. And innovation is expensive. Well, honestly, it really depends. There are really tiny little bits that you can use to develop further your business, your product, your service, and can be cheap. But yes, it is true. Sometimes if you want to do that leap jump, you need to develop a huge piece of product or service. Yes, it costs money, but this is the point. As highlighted by Adi in the presentation earlier today about his experience, there are so many government funds that support innovation process, as long as it is about developing something. Innovate UK and universities, Research England, the research councils are open to businesses. Actually, some actions are meant only for businesses and are meant to facilitate the uptake of new technologies and new services. And so innovating is the cost of innovation, and the risk associated with innovation is leveraged by government funds. Another point is about working with universities. Well, you're already here, you are attending a university event, so you already passed the time. But the point is, universities, yes, do work with businesses, not just large businesses, but also one-man bands. We are really happy to do so, and there are many ways to do it together, and we can see a few examples shortly. So, universities, yes, they do work not only with large enterprises, not only with multinationals, but with SMEs. And honestly, my experience is best ideas, the most innovative ideas are with SMEs. Large companies are driven by the market. SMEs have more brilliant ideas, are more in touch with the reality. And this is why many large companies actually buy smaller companies, because it is there where the new ideas live. So who we are? Well, the Innovation Hub is a team of experts, is a team of people, non-academics, but working closely with academics and bridging that gap between academia and business. Academia has been perceived as an ivory tower. No, it is not, or no longer. University and academics love to work with businesses. Maybe the language is not always the same. Okay, we work as translators. We translate the language properly, because sometimes what is your idea and what you miss to develop it, it is something that academics would really like to undertake. If it is not academics, it's really experts, sector experts like myself and my colleagues who are there to help you. We have a consolidated experience in working with businesses, and really, SMEs are our job. Just to give you an idea of how we can work together, there are so many mechanisms. So the first point, the first that came out through the conversations today is access to knowledge and expertise. It's about outsourcing something that you need to be developed, but you don't have the expertise internally. We have funds from the government, from the agencies, national and international, that allow us to work for you for free. It is free for you. We are paid by the government to do so. This is the essential point. And there are many mechanisms with which you can outsource something to us. Can be as short as a 2-day or a 5-day consultancy, or longer 1 year or 3 year innovation projects. We can uptake them and work through your need with you and translate it into a project that we undertake and pass all the results to you. Another point is access to facilities, where universities are famous for labs and you think they are filled in with scientists doing some strange things. No, not only. We do many weird and strange things that later translate into the market, but labs are open for access to you. It is not about you using the labs, it's about us using the labs to develop something for you. Is it about design something, prototyping, experiment a new material, a new piece of electronic, or some piece of, I don't know, develop or test a piece, a part that you are developing or qualifying it for some national or international regulations? We have the tools to do it. And again, we have funds and we have budget resources paid by the government so that we can do it for you for free or heavily subsidized. Well, we haven't discussed it too much today, but just a little bit, but it's about developing the potential of your staff. Clearly, we are a university. Teaching is our first job, and we work on continuing professional development. We can create bespoke courses for you, or you can study with us, which is exactly, there might be some courses we might be able to address you to that satisfy your need for upskilling. Clearly, the university develops IP. IP might be relevant to you. Please contact us. We might have something that might be useful to you, and we are happy to share it with you. And we license our technology, and we work on partnership, and we also give out the IP that we develop in partnership with you. And finally, we discussed it quite a bit today, which is about recruiting students and graduates. We have offices that are devoted to that, whether it is about advertising a vacancy in your company, or it is about placement and internships. There are also grants that support it. And clearly, there are also things as simple as student projects, which is you submit something to a class in a specific course, and students work on it to develop a solution. Sort of, well, if you call it in the wider market, you call it crowdsourcing. Think of it sourcing something to a class of students, and they are happy to develop something that might be relevant to you. So, where to start from? The first approach is really, the point is contact us, really knock at our door. You have our contacts, we will share our contacts with you, and just drop us an email or call us, and let's start a conversation. Really, it's really about grabbing a coffee together, virtually for now, but over the screen, we do it, we go through it. There are some very simple approaches which are productized offers in which you can, for free, have a review, for instance, of your data. You have data in your business, data has a value, you are not aware of it, but our experts are able to review it with you, understand where the value is, and how you can develop further your products and services, or identify issues or opportunities, and how you exploit the value that is hidden into your data and into your material. Or if it is about innovating your business model, my colleague Tobias is always here for you to serve and is able to talk with you, go through your business model, understand where there might be improvement, or help you think through new approaches and new mechanisms to develop your business. Here, I'm sharing with you a few examples, and clearly, when we received those comments from these companies, we were so, I can say, happy. Clearly, it makes you happy, but it gives you an idea of how diverse companies were able to work with the university. these that we are listing here, just a few examples, and these are SMEs in the region, based in Leicester or in Leicestershire, actually. And 4.4 geo, if they define once themselves as just wood choppers, the point is they are wood choppers technological. They work for specific clients, and these clients are power utilities that have specific need, which is about ensuring that the vegetation doesn't grow too much, otherwise it poses a risk to the infrastructure. And their job is going there and trimming the trees, so landscaping. But they are doing it in an innovative way, providing a service to the company, which is monitoring vegetation, ensuring that you are trimming the vegetation only when it is needed and before it becomes too dangerous when it is not planned. So it means that you can accelerate trimming in certain areas where the vegetation grew too quickly, or maybe delay where there was no need. So introducing savings and optimization. And they are doing this with satellite imagery of the Earth. So wood choppers using satellites, would you imagine it? Or Redshift Associates, they are working on high quality. They are developing gorgeous products that allow to optimize routing in cities. You know, when you use Google Maps to decide which route to undertake from point A to point B. Okay, what if you take into account something like air quality? This is what they are doing. And TrailMed. TrailMed is a company providing medical services at events and in remote areas like forests, for instance, or in the national trusts. And the point is, they wanted to complement their services with drones that could help in search and rescue, because it happens that they receive a call or a need of someone that is in danger or lost in a forest or in some landscape area, and they are developing, with the help of the university, of a solution of a drone that can automatically process the pictures taken by the drone to identify humans that are in danger, and then provide the position so that the rescue crews can reach to them, or provide to the people endangered a signal through satellite communication where there is no typical mobile connectivity on the place, on the spot. So just 3 examples of people working with the university, so diverse, but where a piece of technology was developed by us to help them implement a new product and service. And on all 3 cases, what we have done has been totally free to them, with very little contribution in a couple of cases. But actually, also the contribution counts as R&D, and R&D for the government can claim tax relief. So I would invite you to stay in touch with us, to contact us, submit us your queries, and contact us, but and approach our next few events. Innovation Fridays are every last Friday of the month. There is an exception in December, you can guess why. Next 2 events will be the 30th of October, 27th of November. And during the Leicester Business Festival, I would encourage you to engage with us in the Lean Innovation Summits. These are meant for mid-sized SMEs, so let's say 10 employees and more. And it is a very special event, multiple to one, where we bring to the table as many experts as possible to brainstorm around a specific need or a specific idea. We will share this list of events with you, but you can always check on our website and on our Twitter and LinkedIn. So here are our contacts. Please just get in touch with us.